So I talked about the merge and unmerge of Pokemon Red and Blue, but I never actually reviewed the sets of either of them. And so here we are. We're talking about Pokemon Blue specifically because it is technically the newer one, even though it existed before. But yeah, that goes into a bunch of other stuff. No audio because it's the broken RetroArch that likes to mute my audio for some reason. I have no idea why. We're just gonna be going through the Elite Four randomly as I go through this, but um, yeah. So basically, we got a blue set. It was really quick. It has your generic gym leaders, Elite Four. Collect a bunch of stuff. I will say I do like some of the stuff being limited to certain routes. It's a little wonky at times, but obviously it's not too bad. How we're starting off amazing. We, we missed Thunderbolt. Oh no! But overall, I found it to be a fine example of a set for a lot of the earlier stuff. But I'm gonna be the guy that says it. I do think the set is one bloated a decent amount, and two has a lot of achievements that uh, I feel were already covered at one point and just kind of dropped, or they just don't really do anything. Um, but oop, I picked the wrong move. We're gonna get Frozen Watch, I believe. Nope. Okay, cool. Um, but like all the trades are covered, which is normal for Pokemon sets at this point. I don't really expect much else. Uh, there's some really weird design choices for the missable items or missable the unmissables, collecting all the hidden items, and they're all grouped in weird stuff. For example, Cerulean Cave, Cinnabar Mansion, Mount Moon, and Seafoam is fine. They're all caves. I get it, but then there's some that I just don't really get because maybe I just don't get the joke. But you have Viridian Forest, Safari Zone, Pokemon Tower, and Victory Road, which it one, you're not getting that achievement. You're gonna start that achievement so early and then get it very late. It's very lackluster uh, of a choice. All the missable trainers have some wonkiness to it. For example, Route 11 requires, or that whole group of setup, I believe it's Route 11, Route 9, and Route 10, all require you to pick up the item finder as one of the trainers. Hey, we leveled up. Uh, and I found a lot of the kind of brokenness of all those to be kind of annoying. Uh, but hey, it's the way the achievement set was built. You have to collect all 50 unmissable TMs and HMs in the overworld, which actually isn't that hard. And I found myself pretty much covering everything just by going through. It only took me a few go back throughs on certain routes to find all of it. Uh, it wasn't too bad, but yeah. Besides that, I found the most annoying stuff to be uh, the achievements for defeat every trainer and gym leader in the Cinnabar Island gym without leaving in one session, because you could just save scum. Like, this is the most pointless achievement to have existed in the set. I think it's actually really bad. And there's also the thing where it's like defeat the gym leader with only using a type. And I'll be brutally honest, it's interesting to bring out like some certain types that don't necessarily have a disadvantage. But defeat Brock using only normal types, it's not that bad. There's plenty of ways to get around the really problematic parts of using normal types like that. But when it comes to the the other gyms, I found it very either good, like a good choice, it allows you to explore stuff, or really odd and bad. Um, Misty, for example, is bug type, which I think is cool. Actually, it means you're going to explore using a Beedrill more than likely, because you're not going to use what's it called? You're not going to use Butterfree for it because it's just not a good option. Uh, because Confusion is not going to defeat Starmie anytime soon, so you're going to go for Twin Needle more than likely. Now, uh, Surge is fire type Pokemon, which I do have a problem because you either A, have to skip it because you can't skip Surge for the longest time, or you have to choose Charmander, which I hate having the player forced into a decision like that, just for an achievement. Feels very lackluster. Of course, I ended up just using the Haunter you see in front right now, but overall, I found it very annoying to have to pick Charmander because it means you're picking Charmander on a Pokemon set that has Blastoise on the front. So a little odd there. Defeating Erica with electric Pokemon is really annoying to me because this is where we'll start to see a big problem with um like some of these where it's like just use a disadvantage in general. Just use a disadvantage. Uh, and I ended up using a Pikachu and just quickly dealing with it because you can just, you can over level. I believe I was like 8 levels higher, and I did have to, reload the save a couple times, but I just did it that way. You could also just go get Zapdos if we're being realistic here and just sweep that. So, I get that they were trying to be cool with some of these types, but the electric type is very triggering. It just wastes time, in my opinion. Either makes you go get Zapdos or train up an electric Pokemon. And it's not too bad because you have the Casino and Casilfco at that point. You could technically grind. Uh, Koga with a grass type Pokemon. This is really weird because you would think this would be a problem, but the only grass type that actually struggles in this game, well, two, is Parasect and Tangela, so it's not necessarily a big problem here because you either have Executor, which I ended up using for another achievement as well, or you used, the I guess your starter, and I doubt you would end up using it, but uh, or the Leaf Stone evolution of your version exclusive, which in this case for blue is, I'm pretty sure, Victory Bell. I caught it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Victory Bell. um, but and then there's Defeat Sabrina with only using Ghost type Pokemon, which like you think is like, oh, that's cool. We're gonna be using like Ghost types, which have the type advantage. Gen 1 they don't, and in fact they're weak to Psychic. So this is just picking a bad option. Um, it I really don't like this in Erica's achievement. I feel like making the player pick a bad option is never a good achievement design. Um, because yeah, it is challenging because you just are inherently at a disadvantage. Though, as you can see, I used a Haunter, so it wasn't that bad. Uh, and then defeat Blaine, use the only fighting type Pokemon. This could have been a lot easier if I decided to use Poliwrath then. But I just straight up forgot it existed until the very end, pretty much. Uh, and when it came down to it, I actually found myself using Hitmonlee, which was fast enough and strong enough to kill pretty quickly. So there was a bunch of trainers I got free XP on in the water routes. It wasn't that bad. And then Giovanni with Psychic Pokemon, which, what's the point at then? You go from trying to not abuse type advantages to giving Psychic type, one of the strongest types to have ever existed in Pokemon history, to beat the 8th gym leader. It's very, very annoying. Uh, there's also another one that continues on where it says use water Pokemon for the Elite Four only. This one I ended up using or doing another one with using Safari Zone Pokemon only as well, which I used Poliwrath. This is where I remember Poliwrath existed. I used Poliwrath with Amnesia, and even with my level disadvantage, Amnesia's busted. We all know this. And it wasn't too bad. Um, The Babies R Us one wasn't too bad because all I needed to do was have a bunch of unevolved Pokemon, and I had Haunter here do this. This is back when it was like, I think it was like early 60s. So I did have to actually like use ethers and stuff. Funnily enough, in the set, as we finish up here, I did find myself running out of PP recovery uh, items. I did struggle quite a bit. Wow. Watch me get my special lowered here and make this harder. Nope. All right. But I did find myself actually running out of PP recovery moves. I think I have one max elixir left that I just had in the PC that I never grabbed. Um, so overall, it honestly, for ease of access, it definitely was quite an annoying like item usage for the set. But yeah, and then there's of course catch all the Pokemon, which at this point is pretty standard. I did find it weird that the legendary birds are stuck into one achievement. Usually they're split apart, but it depends on the set. It's fine. Um, I is in my opinion worth a little too much, but whatever. Uh, the the one thing I will say as we finish up this kind of final setup is that it covers a lot of the game, probably almost all of it, uh, and that's perfectly accessible and that's fine. But I also, at the same time, feel that it's lacking a lot of like reason for someone like me to play. I've played Pokemon a lot. I think that's pretty obvious. But here I kind of felt that it suffers from just not really not really being interesting. This is the most basic like acceptable set that I've ever seen for Pokemon. Uh it feels like a mash fest. I found myself quite bored as I was finishing really. But as I was finishing the game, it isn't the worst thing in the world. I'm not going to sit here and say it's the worst set. There's a lot of sets that probably has that, but I will say that it is just kind of boring for a Pokemon set. And it reminds me too much of like Yellow, which Yellow even has a bit of a difference because you're able to do the Pikachu stuff. Um, so it's not like inherently that bad. It focuses on different things versus what other sets do because it's just Pokemon Yellow. Um, so yeah, okay, I'm gonna speed this up. Thank you. Sorry, I'm not gonna sit there asleep again. And we'll finish up Blastoise and end this video. Overall, of course I give Pokemon Blue and Red. I've always given them 6 out of 10s. Because while they are charming and stuff, they are broken as all hell. I've described this before, and I'll give the set the same score because it's just a little above average. There's a lot of work done into this. I'm not disagreeing with that, but overall, I think I would have wanted a bit more, and maybe that's just me being, I want more, I want more stuff. But overall, I found it pretty much just in the middle ground. But we'll end this off here. Overall, if you've played the Unmerged set, let me know how you feel because I know some people actually may have enjoyed it a lot more than I did. But hey, it's still a good set. 6 out of 10 ain't bad. And I will see you next time.